Hello and welcome to another one of our special show and tells with special guest, a cat that's just shown up on Simon's screen. So we're back again this week, and we're picking out some of the marketing material that we've seen being used with law firms in the legal area, and just giving some comments on it. And we have some very interesting pieces today, especially from Charlotte. I've just been looking at hers. But before we dive into that, I'm here again with both Charlotte and Simon, and I shall let them introduce themselves. So, Simon, tell us about your cat. You can go first this time.
Jingles is here with me as well today, so best avoided dealing with him. I had a trade-off, sitting in the office and having no Wi-Fi, or sitting up here and having a cat hassle me for the duration. So I'm sorry, it's the cat. Yeah, Simon Marshall founded TBD Marketing 3 years ago, and have also founded the Digital 100, a review of law firms' digital marketing performance. So I've been looking at the stats today on some upcoming major changes on core web vitals across all of the firms in top 100. Going to be releasing those details over the next few days.
That sounds great. Very interesting. When next few days, before the weekend, after the weekend? Oh, he's gone. No, he's playing still. Oh no, he's back. He's gone. He's back. Anyway, while Simon and his dodgy Wi-Fi are there, let's say hello to Charlotte. Hello, Charlotte. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thank you for having me on again. My name is Charlotte Takat. I am currently the CMO of Novum Learning, which is a professional micro-learning platform. So we bring together knowledge from all areas of business, and one of our sort of bread and butter areas is the legal industry. So we help law firms essentially work as a profitable and successful business overall, which is what we do for work. And within that, I am the CMO. So I look after the website, the content. I work a lot with our partners. And the whole business really just embodies my love for lifelong learning, which is something that I really believe in. And within that, what I like to learn about most is consumer psychology, strategy, and those sorts of areas of marketing. So that's what I am most interested in and look for in marketing materials.
I love the sound of that. So we got, as I say, we got some interesting material coming forward this afternoon. Were you saying something, Simon? You're on mute.
Yeah, you've got to tell us what you do for a living, David.
Oh yeah, I do. I always forget that part. So I'm David Stace. I'm director of Paper Gecko Limited. I'm a digital marketing consultant. I cover areas including law firm marketing. I was head of digital with one of the big law firms here in London. But I also work across a number of professional services and B2B organizations. And also some just out of the blue organizations as well, which are just not related to any of those areas, but it's interesting work. So I jump in and I do it. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. So a lot specifically around the technical, the SEO, but also the wider digital marketing as well. So well, that's pretty much me and what I do. So yes. So this week, what have we got? So I'll tell you what, we started, I think, I can't remember who we started with last week. Simon, do you want to go first this week and tell us a little bit more about?
Yeah, I do. I've brought something. I'm going to show you a static something which is on the web and show you a couple of pages, but I want to talk about the broader campaign, but it's only from an outsider's perspective. And I'm slightly mindful of the fact that my wife is working over there. I'm about to talk about divorce now, so forgive me. But I think that it's worth looking at something that Stowe Family Law have been doing. So Family Law, relatively recently established law firm, 15, 20, whatever years, can't remember what it is, I think, but it's certainly become famous over that period, has become the largest family law firm in the UK over the last few years, done a wonderful job. And digital marketing wise, ranks way, way, way above where they should. In the Digital 100, when we rank the rankings, they tend to come about 35th amongst UK law firms, and they are about 175th by size. So they've got no right to be up that high, but they just excel at that area. There's a guy there in particular who does very well. John, hello, if you're watching this video. I always highlight him as somebody who does brilliant work in this area. So listen, I want to show you something that they do. Let me share. So you can let me do just a tab or two.
Right, it's always fun when we get into the technical stuff.
You can see that, right?
It's coming up. Let me add. There we go.
They've got this. They've got this thing called the Bristol Breakup Club. Okay, and it's quite an emotive subject matter if you think about it. For anyone going through divorce, to know that they can have conversations with other people and realise they're not alone. And what Stowe have done here is actually create a club of people to meet up and be led through some of those conversations by a woman called Claire Black. I saw it because it's been advertised on LinkedIn via Gemma Slavin, who's the managing partner for the Bristol office. Here we go. She's mentioned.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit there, Simon.
They've got various different sessions taking place. Okay, my back. Is that better? They've got several initiatives. They've got several initiatives working, and it's not just so it's an online thing, and they talk about things and they bring people there, but they're creating a community around it. And I think to break down some of the taboos in that area, to talk about a very different subject matter. Well, firstly, I thought that Charlotte would vote for it as a brilliant idea, right? Because it's a marketing thing, but it talks to a human need, and it turns conventional wisdom about how you should go about doing law firm marketing about divorce on its head, which is that it's an isolated experience. And somebody said to me recently, imagine how terrifying it is to first walk in the office to go and see a lawyer when you don't know whether you're allowed to, whether you've got any rights to or not. And what this does is basically puts people in a group to make them feel as though they're not isolated and alone. And I think for that reason alone, and the fact that you use all the best modern methods of marketing it, the fact that it's a paid for event, so people take it seriously when they turn up, I think there are loads of things to love about it as well. So congratulations from me to Stowe Family on what they've done there. And yeah, and to Gemma as well on the work that she's done on it.
That looked really interesting. It looked like a real sort of hub page there being created. It looked like it had a lot of useful information.
Yeah, I mean, if you go onto the site, they've got a frightening number of pertinent blogs. And what I think they've done well in their digital marketing in general is, as you know, both of you, good marketing comes from taking probably two ideas, putting them together, three ideas, putting them together, and watching what's in the middle of that Venn diagram and exploring that. So they've talked about choosing a school together when you're in the middle of a divorce with parents, doing things like that. Really, they take a topic, take another topic, and they put them together. Maybe it's a bit like that card game. What's it called? The one where you pull out answers and questions and you put the two together. Anyway, I think there's something that they do that's really good.
Is that the one?
Ah, yes. Cards for Humanity.
So it's Divorces for Humanity or something. But the idea being that they pull these different ideas together and create a marketing material out of it, but create a community out of it, create a hub out of it as well. I think isn't entirely unique in the legal sector, but in the divorce area, it's probably the strongest proposition I've seen in that area. So there you
go. That sounds very interesting. I like that. It's good to see that emotional side, and as I think, as we've discussed before, it's putting people at ease as they enter into a very difficult situation.
I don't know quite how difficult it would be to manage the CRM though, to make sure that various different factions of warring parties didn't turn up. But I think that and I think also as well, I mean, I got divorced, right? So I've been through it. I think it's quite hard for men to talk about that issue. And, do I expect that Gemma will do something where actually they might well create men-only groups so that men have got permission to talk in a way that they're not used to doing so. Possibly, I don't know. But the idea actually that men would go and listen to what women are going through when they're divorcing as well, I think is really healthy. And you're probably at different positions around where you are with the kids and how to ground things and how to have conversations that aren't just about protecting financial assets as well. So yeah, you can see it deeply moves me as a subject matter, and the way that they've gone about it. I think it's a very calm and sophisticated way to go about marketing that as well. And it's something they can be proud of when they talk about it on social media. They don't have to, shout about divorce at all. They'd say, come to this thing and you'll find yourself, in a group of like-minded people in a different parts of life, as it were, but in the same kind of thing and need at the moment. I think that's important for people to feel less isolated. I'd love to see a bit more of that in some other areas, frankly, as well, of the law.
And I think law being so often criticized for the lack of empathy, because you walk to a divorce lawyer and you don't know, like that's that person's job, and like rightfully so, that's why you go there. But exactly what you're talking about, Simon, like I can imagine that you need that emotional support, and the only person who you are speaking to at the moment about this really openly is your lawyer. So anyway, I find that that's a beautiful idea for a law firm to say that, look, we can give you some emotional support, but your lawyer's emotional support is probably not all that you need, because they might not be in the same shoes. And you know what, that's the whole thing, how and it doesn't have to be divorce, just in any life situation. It's very easy to preach about something where you haven't gone through it, and you can be a very empathetic person, but if you haven't gone through divorce, you can't feel the same. You can't give realistic advice. So I think that's a beautiful idea from the customer experience or customer journey perspective, but also from the content piece. I think what they've done really smartly there, if you want to talk about content strategy, if you like, is what the FMCG world does super well, is makes their clients create the content, or gives them the tools to be the content creators. So in law, sometimes we often see this like obsession to hang on to the ties and be the content creators, and it all has to be professional and legal advice, or somehow qualified to a certain legal quality. And I think it's beautiful that what they've done is essentially given people a platform and given people a voice to be content creators, which people can resonate with, which is what content is about, at least in part.
I just think that the use of a price ticket is also very clever, right? Because one, there's some costs involved because they've got an external speaker to do it. Two, you're not hanging out a sign saying no time wasters on the door, but you are filtering by saying, are you taking this seriously or not? And I think that that's not a bad thing. And if you think about it in a really bare and naked kind of marketing kind of way, you're effectively reducing the cost of your business development to zero for that session, because you have 20 or 30 people turn up, they'll pay for the speaker and the room and whatever it might be. Who knows, it probably doesn't even cover its own costs, but there's an idea that we have to do all this stuff for free all the time, and I'm not sure that's always right. And so I didn't want to pass over that element. I agree with everything Charlotte said. It really is important, and how emotively important it is. But I would happily, when I was going through it, have parted with 25 quid to go to that session if I thought what I was going to get was heard and frankly some empathy and a greater understanding of what I was going to go through as well at the time. So the money factor for me wouldn't have been an issue, but for some other people who maybe they're not going to be the right clients for Stowe, or they're just not ready to do it, it's a natural filter for some people as well, I think. Yeah. If anybody found this is no joke inside, but I'm quite happy if anybody says that they watch this video and they find that money to be a barrier to them going and they really want to go, I'll happily look after the first person who wants to go, and I'll pay for their session to go to the thing as well. You shouldn't be a barrier to going, and I'm sure that Stowe has that in place. I don't want to say that, but I think it's quite a clever use of that device as well for money. So there we go.
That's very
I've spoken
good.
enough.
I'll make sure that we add the details into the show notes at the end. So that sounds good. Okay, so I'll tell you what we've got. We're going to move on to Charlotte's now. Now this is we just go off. This is a very eclectic show today. We're going off now.
This is why jingles are stand up.
onto something a little bit different, but again, it's something that yeah, I mean, it suits the environment. So, Charlotte, tell us a little bit about this.
Right. So this is two lawyers from California, where weed in certain forms, shapes, under certain regulations is legal. And yet you can get done for it if you don't know your rights or if you don't do it properly. And the way I've come across these two gentlemen was on Instagram, where they have, and I have to pull them up because I have not done that, which just shows my preparation.
I've got the video here ready for whenever you want it. So yeah.
I mean, we can do that too. So what I wanted to just like drop in there as a teaser, that on Instagram they have 467,000 followers.
Wow.
So I think it's incredible. Actually, I might leave that to you, David, if that's okay, to share the screen. Just I don't get into technical troubles, and I can blame it on you. And I think, if we just watch maybe like half a minute from the first video, I think that's going to give away what we're talking about.
You do remember what happened when I did this last week? I messed it up, and I'll probably do it again. So bear with me here. Right, here we go. Let's get this video. Here we go.
Hold up.
Don't talk to the cops. And learn your rights.
Are you guys the pot lawyers?
Yes, we are.
So what do I do if a cop smells pot?
I will use a quote from an Instagram follower who called us undercover marijuana superheroes.
It's very important for us to be out there with the people.
We are the only attorneys out there at these festivals walking with the people and meeting and greeting and educating and medicating with them. So if you do have to deal with those cops, you will remember what we say.
To do it. The only ones with the balls to do
You
it.
gotta talk over me.
Hold
When he
up.
says, oh, what's that smell? I don't want to discuss my day. There you go. And if you're that's right. You say, I invoke the fifth.
You invoke the fifth, and then you
That was probably a great point to stop. So what I love about these guys, and let's put the whole ethical question, because that's everyone for everyone else's personal judgment, I believe, to decide what they believe and what they want to do. And we all live all around the world in different countries, so we can make up our own minds regarding what we think is right or wrong. But what I love about these guys is that they are qualified lawyers. Like, that is everything that challenges every bit of what we think a lawyer is or should be. And they are winning cases in California. So first of all, when we talk about the whole human lawyer movement and, challenging, how a lawyer should look like and what they should do and how they should behave, that for me is screaming, well, actually, if someone knows their rights, if someone knows what they are talking about, that's all they need. So I love that. And the second thing that I really love about them is that they are with their people. Exactly. So what they said that they are at these festivals, they are on Instagram. I tried to actually search for them on LinkedIn, and they have visibly no presence. Because who the hell, like their target audience is not on LinkedIn, but on Instagram they will have 467,000 people following them. That's just incredible. So talking about, in terms of marketing, knowing who your audience is, knowing where they are, knowing what their troubles are. And if you look at their Instagram, it's phenomenal. Like they speak the language of the people, just completely uncensored. And it's easy to understand. It's none of that, excuse me if I say this, lawyer rubbish. Which freaks people out, right? Like if we all speak to lawyers all the time, and half of the time you're like, don't understand. And that's fine too. And I love lawyers with my whole heart. But I just, when we talk about, and especially with my American context, I know that this is a big conversational topic, and I'm sure it is all over the world, but especially in America, I hear this a lot. The whole access to justice question. And I think, law, like having any legal dealings is often a very expensive thing. And the fact that, some people feel like that law is not for them. I think I'm not saying a secret if I say that I'm originally from Hungary, where I'm helping a legal tech startup who are actually tackling exactly this issue, to give that the small people, if you like, the voice, or the people who have historically always thought that they don't have the right to go against law, or it's going to be so expensive that they can't have representation. And these guys are doing the exact same thing in America, and I love that. I don't know what they are charging, obviously that's a separate question, but they have the tone of voice, they have the platform, they have the problems they are tapping into. I just think it's brilliant.
I gotta say, before we came on, I watched the whole of the video. It only runs at about 4 minutes, but the link's at the bottom of the screen there, and it's very well put together. Everything that you talk about there is mentioned in the video, and with some great examples. They have those people that are just getting into this as a business and learning that, how you need to operate, and they're there to offer the advice. There's a great example later on in the video where a chap comes in wanting to explain how it's personal use, and he seems to have 80 plants, which apparently wouldn't be seen as personal use. I don't know. But no, I think it's very well put together. I think the characters, they're almost the costumes, the pair of them. I can see, well, obviously they're already very successful, but
what's interesting as well, isn't it, that we're laughing because it's slightly taboo, right? To kind of talk about it and think about it, but in 10 years' time, it's just going to be a perfectly legitimate business. And license and taxed a certain way and whatever as well. Well, odds are anyway.
It's very much, in some places I think it's already there. I think it's just right. Still early days, I think, and especially for their market as well. This isn't the big cannabis industries that are rolling out for medical and all the rest of it. These are the small time, the home growers and all the rest, who they haven't got time to put together the full business plans, seek the full-on legal advice. And let's face it, as Charlotte says, you're not going to be going to the what did Rich call it, the law firm with the floor to ceiling windows and the orchids in the vase as you walk in. These are the guys that a huge amount of the market is going to feel comfortable with straight away.
Exactly. And if you just let me show one more thing, maybe I can try and attempt sharing my screen.
Good. Go for it.
Let me show you a Chrome tab, and this is their merchandise. So talk about how law can become a lifestyle brand. I think
they've even got the merch.
They've even got the merch, and they have so apparently there are like 4 lines which you have to say if the cops pull you over, and they have that printed on the merch so you never forget.
That is fantastic.
This is fantastic. They've just done something completely different, something completely out of place, and they are actually getting sponsorship from different companies, and they themselves on their Instagram will smoke different things and talk about how law can become a completely different type of business. I think these guys are just amazing, and especially for the American market, I just love this from my whole heart, from the marketing perspective.
They've done a really good job with it. I mean, the video is a slick production that wouldn't have been cheap to do. It's a good looking website. It's not some people have just dived into this without any thought.
No. This is what I mean, though. I think they've used the taboo to get you to drop your guard a bit, right? And then they've inhabited it with actually very professional stuff. Their market segmentation is amazing. They know exactly who they're going after. Their messaging is clear. I actually think the STFU cap is something that I should wear on a regular basis anyway. So I'm kind of I need one of those anyway. I do, but I there's a lot to admire in there. And anyone watching this video who's thinking I'm not into the cannabis sort of things, fine. Forget the context of it, and now look at your practice as a divorce practice and say, what could you do? And now look at your wills practice and say, what could you do if you didn't start out with the constraints of it has to be done this way? And I think that's where Charlotte's example is so useful for people, to get them to see how far this is a very serious business. You can't afford all those law books they've got on the table unless you're making money, right? That's a fact.
Absolutely. And I think so many different life situations would have a similar sort of mantra of this is what you need to say. If you're being harassed at work, if I don't know if ever anyone has ever gone through any situation like that, but it's a very intimidating feeling if someone accuses you of something or behaves inappropriately, and you have to know what to say back so you don't get done for it. Because if you're anything like me, I lose it. So don't be like me. No,
I'll order 2 of those caps when I'm doing it. You can have one. I can have one, right? Not a problem.
But I think it's also interesting because, I mean, as you're both saying that, I mean, ultimately, look at this as a regulated industry, just like a lot of professional services. It's, okay, there's the stereotypical style, but they've totally gone in. They've decided who their audience is, and I think they've got it 100%. Absolutely,
you could do that with the travel industry.
Yeah.
Right. With all of the rights that you've got on your ABTA rights and your delayed flight rights and all this, you could do that and do it, same videos in the on scene, in the airports, not in a lockdown era, but you could create a whole load of good stuff if you were to do that as well. And I'm just taking one example, consumer finance. There's nothing stopping you doing a whole load of good stuff like that in consumer finance. There isn't, and I just think that what they've led the way is with a bit of imagination, and it appears to be a joke until you look under it a bit more and you realize the marketeer, there's a lot of good stuff going on there.
Yeah, very good. Right. I suppose I better do mine now, and after that,
Is it a web audit? David?
It's yeah. I'm
You're
going
show
to
us a
spend.
series of
I'm spending the next 2.5
wrenchings.
hours talking you through the details of a comprehensive web audit.
My Wi-Fi's going suddenly.
Oh dear. Right. Let me just grab this. Bear with me. Share my screen. So this was this came through from Simon. He sent it over, and I thought this was quite interesting. I mean, we see a lot of people, especially some of the law firms I've worked with. We used to spend a lot of time doing PDFs to help get information out there. But now, I mean, the options are so much greater, and this is a lovely way, and it looks like a simple way to get some information across. So this is a standalone website. I had a quick look into the technical side of it. It's something that you can easily put together on specific topics, specific people, and it's a nice, easy, single flow website that you can simply go through. You can add your information. Plays really nice with mobile, with tablets, as well as desktop. Having a look at the corporate website as well, I thought this looked quite familiar, and I think it's the same or similar technology that the BBC use on some of their pages as well. But it's a nice, easy flow that goes through. I mean, it's all down to the individual and how they put the information together there. So Mark Ellis here with Berners Paul, whoever's done that, whether it's Mark, whether it's the team there, I think they've done a fabulous job. It's a nice, simple way.
I'll just name check him. It's a guy called Graham Cleland, who is the marketing guy, who I think it's his team who've actually done the work behind it as well on behalf of Mark as well. So just a quick shout out to Graham, who's done the work behind that as well.
Because it's interesting. I think, when, especially within professional services, legal, you have the sectors, you have the specialist areas, to quickly get information out there, keep it up to date. I mean, back in 2008, when I started the legal side of marketing, it was, to do it well, you were either trying to build a website yourself, which most companies were not able to do, or even then it was the PDF format, which even today can be very clunky. It can be made to look good, but this is very interesting. And the company behind it, what was their name? Shorthand.com, I think it is, where that's from. The only disappointment there, I went in and I had a look at their website, and they will not give you any idea of pricing whatsoever. So I was very disappointed with that.
Well, it's funny to say that, and I don't think it's breaking any confidences. I asked Graham broadly about that side of things, because I just thought, well, look, come on, that's going to be expensive. And he said it is comparable with preparing the PDF. And I thought, well, not in a free way, but in a designed way. And I thought, well, fair enough. If you thought, given that I know that he's told me about some of the outcomes it produces, and that is deals, not just the idea of it, it's not just contact. I thought, well, this is, David, I don't want to hijack what you're talking about. I think it's like narrow casting, isn't it? You've got to do a bit more for a slightly smaller group and do it really, really well. And I think that's going to be a big theme for 2021. Let's focus on something that we know we're going to have to put some chips on something, right? And what Graham's done here and that team have done is basically said, we think this is going to work and we're going to do it really well. And corporate deals tend to lead to corporate deals. So good on him.
No, I think it's great. And I mean, I can see a lot of use cases for this as well, especially when you get to that stage. And I know some of the lawyers that I've worked with over the years would have spent far too much time playing with this and absolutely loving it and putting together some really good stuff. And, that takes hopefully a little bit of pressure off other departments, marketing, as long as they're not too renegade with it, which I know is always a bit of an issue. But yeah, to quickly get something up, especially sort of in a a breaking news. You know, I can imagine budget time would be a fabulous time to have that software available to quickly get something up. And I'm sure it will probably link very easily onto the website. It's there for email, it's there for social. Very useful information.
You've actually got me thinking now about 2 or 3 other things that I do already, and I now think maybe I should do them in that format. I mean, clearly Charlotte's going to mention it to her new mates Cheech and Chong, isn't she, to make sure they think about doing it for their marijuana business. So
yeah. So, one of the things that I was actually going to say about that is I love the chairs.
Yeah.
I just love the chairs because there is this idea which I'm a massive fan of, is obviously capturing attention is one of our biggest struggles, but then keeping attention is probably step number 2. So if we assume that, you know, people are looking for something, you know, we are online, you know, you probably don't just tumble across this. You know, let's assume that we've already captured attention. But I love this idea of mind puzzles. I call them mind puzzles, which is stuff that don't make sense. So you look at it and you're like, what? and the easiest example that I always bring is the Snickers ad where it says that you're not yourself when you're hungry. So what they do is they put something that is just, it doesn't quite make sense into an environment where it doesn't quite relate to. And what that does is actually starts this puzzle solving process in people's minds, which means that if you start solving the puzzle, you will be mentally more engaged. If you're mentally engaged with something, then when you solve the puzzle, you get that little sense of endorphin. It's just like, ooh, you know, when you like, we can even think of actual little puzzles, like the sense of achievement gives you that, you know, positive emotional boost of, oh, I got this. So it creates a positive memory in your mind. It releases actual specific chemicals in your brain, which your brain retains as a positive memory, and your brain is on your side. So it will be happy to recall positive memories. So next time when you are searching for something, it's going to be easier to recall something that you've engaged with mentally. You had a positive experience. You had to go through that problem-solving process as opposed to something that you just glanced through.
There's a lot of that in comedy, isn't there? Where comedians will they'll do a callback to a previous joke, but it's there to reward your intellect and make you feel clever for remembering the thing and piecing together 2 parts. And you've actually filled in the joke. They haven't made the full joke. It's that in the 4 Weddings and a Funeral sketch, he talking about like the stag do, and he says something about sheep, and at the end of the thing says, anyway, back to those sheep, and in those stages he told you what happened with the sheep, but you mentally have filled in some, you know, atrocious gag around what's happened with the stag do and the sheep, right? And the idea is that it rewards that instinct. I think that's very clever, Charlotte, and you're right. What Graham's achieved with those chairs is alone, just the chairs, is amazing, because I think for me it's about diversity and about where people are sat and the fact they're at home, and there's so much going on in that one thing, and it's got nothing to do with corporate deals download, has it? It's nothing, except it's everything. That's what's so clever about it. Yeah, love it.
Well, it's a metaphor. You know, it doesn't, you know, that's why metaphors, even in, you know, literature, just think of your simple, like, favorite novels, they use metaphors all the time, right front and center, because it engages the reader and it makes you do the hard work of interpreting of what it's actually about. But anything that starts a mental process, and that's the hard part, you know, like, as much as we think that we are, you know, intelligent people, which we are, but, you know, like, it's your system 1, or, you know, what behavioral science calls system 1, which is your, you know, like, instinctive, I think they also call it crocodile brain.
Oh yeah, the lizard
The
brain.
amygdala.
Yeah. You like that, David, don't you?
Gecko
but
brain. Yeah.
Gecko brain. Yeah, so absolutely, I like that.
I think, you know, for me, I mean, I love design, so just seeing the Eames lounge chair in there and Le Corbusier in there as well, it just grabbed my attention straight away. But I think exactly as you say, I'm just thinking how many firms, when putting that together, would have had a cityscape, business people walking down the road type image.
Let's take the silver linings as they come from the last 12 months. The last 12 months has been bloody awful, but we can finally say good riddance to handshake photos. Okay, and there are no handshake photos on any law firm websites anymore. Be gone, handshake. So listen, I agree with you. No cityscapes, no jigsaws, no flipping maps. Okay, get rid of the lot of a compass. Oh, what about a red thing when everything else is in grey? Oh man, I'm actually gonna have to turn my camera off for a minute.
Seen that one.
Just
Haven't seen that one
Oh,
for a
you
while.
must have. Oh, come on. Well, orange. Everyone seems to do it in orange for a year or two. It's like, come on. Anyway, right. Time for something new.
So, yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I had to show, and I mean I think it's interesting. I mean it's as Charlotte said, it's about grabbing the brain, the eyes straight away. But I also think, you know, from the internal point of view of setting things like that up, it's a nice, quick, easy way to do that sort of thing, which is always good, and it's well designed. Be interesting to see what the costs actually are. But no, that looks good. Well, I mean, you know, you have a look at the website and BBC, there's a lot of big names on there, and I've seen it used before, and I think it's a very effective tool. Right. So what else did we have on? Simon,
have we got a guest? I think you've got a downloaded.
I do, yes. Would you like to introduce Dominic? This is a pre-recorded video. Unfortunately, he couldn't make today.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because it's lovely talking about us, and I really like critiquing what we're doing. But remember, this is not a shop in which to criticise other people's law firm marketing. There's enough of that going on out there, right? Mostly on client side, I might add, right? But this is a celebration of the things that do work for law firm marketing. And so Dominic from Eversheds came forward, Dominic Ayres, and said, "Would you profile this thing?" He couldn't make today, so he said he'd record a video instead, and David kindly said that he'd show it. I think that's lovely, like being proud of your work enough. Graham sent his in, Dominic sent his in. Please, can people keep sending their examples? We want to showcase everything that is there to love. We all put hours into this stuff. Please bring this stuff forward and show it, and we'll showcase it and we'll show it off. We promise to be really nice.
And also, you know, just celebrating these materials from a marketing perspective, because I think that, you know, they might get the appreciation for the legal side of things and, you know, how much legal business they get. But let's be honest, we are looking at stuff from a very different angle. So yes, I agree. Keep sending stuff in.
That sounds good. Right, well, without further ado, let's get this going. And here is Dominic. And here we go. Let's roll.
Hi all, I'm Dominic Ayres. I'm a Senior Client Development Manager for the Industrial Sector Group at Eversheds Sutherland, a top 10 global law firm. Sorry I cannot join this evening's call. Simon has kindly invited me to share an example of a campaign we've developed recently and some of the key learnings that might be helpful for each of you in your roles. So over the past year, I've been working closely with our knowledge management team and also holistically as part of our client-facing steering committee. And what we've been focused on as a firm are a few key areas. So one of them is driving greater consistency in what we deliver to clients, simplifying and shortening what we create, so making sure the content's more accessible to senior stakeholders, focusing on frequency and the issues covered in a way that makes it relevant to a GC audience, and also ensuring that the updates we provide are global in coverage. So thinking along these themes, the industrial sector have responded to this, and we produced a targeted set of briefings for industrial clients called our Foresight report series. And basically we produced 4 succinct reports covering 3 key issues across each of our subsectors. So for automotive, aerospace, chemicals, and industrial engineering manufacturing. So some of the key learnings that that came out of these that I think would be useful for each of you to be aware is the first one being client-led content and insights and focusing on the client's business. So when identifying the topics for each of our subsectors and what we wanted to put in the reports, we spoke to clients. We spoke to at least 10 clients for each of our subsectors. And this is really important because we were able to understand what issues, what kind of things clients seen coming over the next quarter. And this made sure that what we produced was really relevant and the content really was alive to what clients were going through. The other thing is around making sure that we create things with the client's perspective in mind. So as mentioned, rather than just producing one report for industrial clients, we broke it down into each of our subsectors and made sure that the aerospace report focused on what issues clients were happening in that sector, as opposed to automotive, as they're very different. So this is really important when you're producing things, is just to think about who is that end user and kind of how could you best package what you're presenting. And then the last is brevity. So over the past year, we've had plenty of feedback from clients that need to know that their knowledge is delivered in such a concise format, and it makes sure that this is really important for that GC audience. And there's a number of companies like Facebook that go so as far to have an acronym called TLDR, so too long, didn't read. So when we're producing things, make sure we limit the topics, the length, make sure that what we provide is really practical. So hopefully some of these are things that each of you should be taking and breathing into your own campaigns. I'll just quickly end by showing you the report. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. So as mentioned, we created 4 reports. This is our aerospace one called On Your Radar. Created these in a very simple Word format, which made it really easy to amend ourselves. So as I mentioned, we focus just on 3 issues. This keeps it really clean and easy for client partners to talk to clients about what's in these reports. And also we focused on, as mentioned, that global piece, so making sure that the content is global. As mentioned, the report looks and feels to the client's business around aerospace, and as 2 pages on each topic with a global diverse team of contributors. So hopefully you found all that useful. I'll ask Simon to share my email address, and if you've got any questions, feel free to forward them on. Thanks.
That's very interesting. I mean, I'm a big fan of the too long didn't read, I'll be honest. But you know, anyone who's gone out and actually spoken to clients and customers to begin with, you know, you're ahead of the game just doing that.
I think grounding in their needs is essential. I think that they have got that combination of enough design and little enough content that it works really well. And here's the thing, and I really mean this, right? I might look at the one that Graham had, the scrolling website, and prefer the look of that, right, rather than what Dominic had presented. But if Dominic tells me that works for that audience, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Right. That is the only thing that matters. What do they care about if they like that? Now, if he looks at the other example and says to Graham, right, we're going to do this from now on, great, right? And it can look beautiful too. But what I like about the Dominic example is some people are going to print it, aren't they? Because they're lawyers, and they're going to read it on the train or on the tube or whatever they're going to do, or they're going to read it on their, you know, iPad or whatever it might be as well. So it's the perfect format for the people they're going to. I think he's done a really good job, and I love the fact that he, as you said, use the client voice to inform what they were doing and how they do it.
I think, as you say, I mean, it's about delivering in a way that the audience sees fit. And you know, I totally agree. There are people that the example that I showed, it's just not their thing. It's not how they want to ingest that sort of information. There are certain expectations, and you only understand that when you actually talk to the audience.
And also, I would probably think that document is for a later stage in the client journey, as opposed to the first example that we looked at, because, you know, that had substantially more in-depth detail. You know, it talked about 3 very specific points. Like, that's already a later stage. That's there. We are not talking about awareness. There we are not talking about this is what we do. There we are talking about this is how we do it. This is why you should be trusting us. And, you know, like, we are talking about heavy duty, like aerospace as the industry. Like, that's some big stuff at stake. So I love that. I think, it's a visually pleasing document. I mean, I will have to read it because I know that you sent it through to me in the background. But
yeah, I think all the materials, when we do this and we chuck up on the LinkedIn afterwards, the video, I think we're going to put it all in the comments after. So I think it's only fair on anyone watching it to have access to all of those pieces of content as well. And I'm assuming that Dominic will be happy for us to share that. I think it's a live document on their website anyway. I'll double check.
And for anyone watching on YouTube as well, I'll make sure it's all set up on there too. So I think we're gonna coming to a close about now. We're just at the 50-odd minute mark. So any closing? I mean, obviously Simon's going to say something. He's itching to say something. I can see this. I'm just wondering if I keep talking, will he actually? Oh, go on then. Go.
I'm happy to wait, but as the government, removes the lockdown and each 5 weeks go, is your hair going to get shorter? Is that how it's going to be?
Quite possibly, yes.
Right,
Look, it was my first haircut in about 18 months. So
I thought we were in it together, but clearly not. So that's fine.
No, that was enough. Back to something a bit more manageable. So. Please, Simon, Charlotte, if any last comments before we close off today's session?
From me, maybe the only thing would be if anyone's watching and you would like to see maybe a specific theme. I mean, last time, I think one of the things that came up in our conversation was merch, which, maybe next time we will have our hats, Simon. But I think that could be like a really interesting thing. And just like Dominic did, if there is anyone watching from a law firm and, you don't have to send us merch, that's okay. But if you just want to send us a photo of what you're doing and, is there anyone doing anything else other than pens, for example? Yeah. I would love to see that. And how you're distributing those, who you're sending it to. I know a couple of companies who do really lovely stuff, sending socks out, branded socks to their clients on their anniversaries or around Christmas time. I love those kinds of things. So, but that's just an example. So my sort of call to action was going to be is if anyone watching is interested in a specific area of legal marketing or would like us to take something apart and talk about it, then that would be great.
That sounds good. I think the merchandising side is fascinating because it's moved on so much further than the cheap and nasty pens or even the half decent pens and pads. It's incredible the sort of stuff that's out there.
A lot of the fun is had by the graduate recruitment team, so we should probably reach out to some of those guys because they have bigger budgets and they tend to do a lot for the milk round as well. And I think in absentia this time round, it's going to be even more important as well. One last thing before we go, Rich Dibbins couldn't make it today. He'd love to be part of this next week. So I think when we get on to the next edition, he's going to show up, and so there'll be slightly less time for me to do the talking because Rich is going to come and compete for some of that time as well. Yeah.
Okay, well that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed what we've had to say. All the information should be in comments below, whether you're watching this on YouTube, LinkedIn. I think we're also Facebook. I think this is also going out via Twitter as well. So we're covering all the bases there. So from myself, I'd like to say farewell, and we shall see you soon. And Charlotte and Simon, I look forward to doing this again next time.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.